Right, okay guys, so a couple of Saturdays ago, I went to the Hawkinge TV, Film and Comic-Con. It was a little intimate event, not like the big Comic-Cons you go to, but in some ways I think they actually made it better. But before we get into it, check this out.
Sound waves reaching the microphone are changed into impulses of electric current.
No need to worry about your pre-recorded music tapes being accidentally erased. It can't happen.
Well,
Humans, what have you learned? I was programmed to beat you.
buying more stuff.
Right, so as you'll be able to see from that, guys, obviously the footage is all in portrait, and I should probably explain why that is. So there was a few people that had starred in films, etc., that were doing signings, but obviously they were also doing selfies, and to get them selfies you had to pay. So as a result, they didn't like recording. So Cara had to kind of walk around, do it sort of on the down low, which is why you've got her making that comment about me buying something there. And I thought, I'll leave that in because I think people get a giggle out of that. I know I did. So, yeah, I took a new gimbal I'd bought along with me with the intention to use it for the first time. And it was kind of annoying that I couldn't really use it. But like I say, we're lucky we got what we got because they didn't like people walking around filming. So we had to kind of do it on the down low. What I should point out, actually, when I'm talking about the signings, and I've made some notes because otherwise I'll forget things. Basically, the guy who plays Green Leader in Return of the Jedi, that's the guy that plows into Darth Vader's Super Star Destroyer with his A-Wing. He was played by Hilton McRae. He was there. And I was considering maybe getting something signed by him, but he actually disappeared early. So by the time I got back round to him, he'd gone. So, which is a bit unfortunate. There was other people, but the other people that were there were kind of like stormtroopers in The Mandalorian, so you never really would have seen their face on camera. A guy that ended up playing Nien Nunb in the Disney Star Wars stuff. As you know, I'm not a massive fan of Disney Star Wars, so I wasn't really interested in that either. So really, if it was going to be anyone, it was going to be him. You know, Hilton McRae from Return of the Jedi. So it was a bit unfortunate. He disappeared early. And I should add, this is a 2-day event, but we only went to the Saturday, which was probably why he went early. But yeah, I've made loads of notes because I got in some great conversations with vendors and cosplayers. And this is the good thing about these smaller events, you see, guys, because you've not got thousands of people around that are taking up all their time. You've got a small event with maybe a couple hundred people at the most. And so you get a chance to talk to people. And that was what I really enjoyed about today. I've got some pickups, but like I say, I've made a list. We'll get through it. Right, so first off, like I just said, everyone was very friendly. I had a lot of convos with vendors and cosplayers. It was funny, we had a funny thing with one of the cosplayers. There was a White Walker guy walking around, and Cara made the mistake of saying to him, "You've got scary eyes." And so he then persisted to follow us around and stare at her at every chance he got, which I found highly amusing. She didn't. So, she seen the funny side of it, but she did think his eyes were creepy. And it's quite funny because right from the start, she was like, "Well, what is he supposed to be?" I said, "Oh, he's a White Walker from Game of Thrones." She's like, "Oh, right, is he a bad guy?" I said, "Yes, he's a bad guy." So, and he played the part very well. There was a part where he was having a photo with two teenagers, a boy and a girl. And as they went to take the photo, he went to bite the female on the neck and she jumped out of her skin. It was hilarious. So he was well in character and done a good job of it. You'll see some photos coming up every now and again. There was a guy dressed as Darth Vader. I got a photo of him sitting on a life-size Tauntaun. There was somebody walking around dressed up in the Warhammer Space Marine armour. Kind of got him in the shot of the Darth Vader one. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good photo of him. Chewbacca, there was a guy walking around in what I can only imagine was a suit with stilts in it, because this guy was massive. Really was tall. So I think he was on stilts. So there's no way he could have been the height he was. Well, it's possible. Some people do get that tall, but I don't think that was the case here. But the photo I've got is where he decided to sit down on the desk at reception. So you can probably see for scale just how big this guy was. He was huge. What else was there? Oh, and then there was, like talking about, speaking of vendors, there was a guy I bought something off and he ended up having problems with his card machine, which was quite funny. So I ended up actually helping him with his card machine. And I should show you while I'm talking about that what I got from that store. So I picked up a Ghostbusters mug, and it's one with Slimer on, which I thought looked superb. You just don't always see things. As you know, guys, and you can probably tell by my t-shirt, big fan of Ghostbusters Slimer. And I like stuff that's bright and very retro looking. And, you know, this speaks retro straight away, right? And I got that from, and I got some like flyers. And this was from StarWarsUniverse.co.uk. So check them guys out. Very nice, like very nice guy. I had a great conversation with him. like I say, I helped him with his card machine. Yeah, just some of these people are a pleasure to be around. They're really nice. And I don't find you always find that everywhere you go. But so far, every time I've been to a Comic-Con or a toy convention, this has definitely been the case. So yeah, check them out. What I should add, lots of Star Wars. I was actually really surprised at just how much Star Wars there was. It was everywhere. You probably wouldn't have been wrong to think it was a Star Wars convention, let's put it that way. Most of the signings were Star Wars. A lot of the collectibles being sold were Star Wars. There was a lot of Star Wars artwork, and then obviously there was quite a few people walking around in Star Wars cosplay as well. And one of them, for example, was a guy walking around in a Jango Fett suit, and he had a 3D printed mouse droid. And I ended up getting a conversation with him because as it wheeled along, Cara said, "What's that?" So it's a mouse droid from Star Wars. It's what the Stormtroopers follow on the Death Star. And this guy obviously heard me, right? I said, "It does look a lot bigger though than the one you see in the film." And then that's at that point when he went, "Actually, it's not. It's actually smaller, this one." And then he said it's like 1/75th scale. So, and then I asked like about the wheels because it looked like it had skateboard wheels on it. And he explained to me, no, they're 3D printed and so is all the case. And then he went through all the details of how he built it, what he'd put in it, how he got it to work, and that he's actually working on a full-scale one at this point. So, again, like I said, lovely people, just great conversation. And I did make a joke. I said to him, so if you're building a full-size mouse droid, right, then surely you need to change your cosplay then, don't you, to a Stormtrooper? And at that point, he told me, actually, I'm working on a Mud Trooper suit. So I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go then. That kind of works, don't it? So I wasn't going to say it's Disney Star Wars. I like Disney Star Wars. I thought, no, let him have his moment. Don't upset him. So I didn't say anything. But yeah, a really nice guy, like a young lad who's clearly got a lot of passion for what he does. And yeah, he'd done a really good job of it. You might see a little bit of footage of that in there. I don't know, because I had a bit of trouble with some of the footage. So it might have appeared in the footage. It might not have. But yeah, a lovely lad, a young lad. And yeah, he's doing great things, and quite often you find a lot of these people do are very interesting to talk to. So, anyway, moving on. Right, now this is the best one. I put here, ironically, only 3 or 4 stalls selling comics, but several selling comic art. Yes, I was actually very surprised at this. There wasn't a lot of comics being sold. Lots of everything else, you know, like graded trading cards, which Connor actually bought. He bought a football card. Plenty of artwork, but not so much comics. So, on that vein of things, I went to a guy's stall called Qui-Gon Jinn, and goes under, I'll show you his card first, goes under the name of James Gray. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so this is his card, and this is what I picked up off of him. Sorry, there's a bit of glare from the ring light. As you can see, it says there, sci-fi illustration. That's the back of it. Now, I should add, I only paid £5 for this. And let's go through some of the images here. Let's just show you that one. As you can imagine, I picked this up, I looked at it and I thought, I've got to have this. Some Star Wars artwork there. And this is all artwork that's produced by him, and he does work on comics. Mainly with IDW, he was telling me. Again, like I say, another guy I had a great chat with. And yeah, there's just some fantastic artwork in there. And when as you can see there, look, Captain Scarlet, you know, and it goes on and on. I had to get this when I saw it. I'm a big fan of artwork, and as you know, I'm a big fan of sci-fi, some Star Trek there. So I saw this, it was £5. I thought, you know what, I've got to get this. I've got to support this guy because what he's doing is fantastic. So yeah, like I say, James Gray, if you get a chance, check out his website. There's his details there. Yeah, QuigonJim.co.uk. So, yeah, it was a pleasure to meet him. Lovely guy. It was funny, actually, because he hadn't had anyone at his stall for quite some time. And the minute I went to his stall, he'd just gone for a bathroom break. So I had to wait for him to come back. The guy in the vendor next to him was telling me. So it was kind of amusing. Right, okay. So then, talking about art, I should mention this one. There was another comic guy, and the minute I saw this, I had to have it. It wasn't framed. I've just framed this. But I was looking at him and he said, "Did anything take your interest?" I said, "Yeah, I love that Predator." And he's like, "Oh, right, yeah." He said, that was me that did that. I was like, "Really?" I said, "How much?" And he said, "Well, £3 to you." I was like, "Right, I'll take that." This was the first thing I bought when I walked in. I'm a big fan of the Predator. Anyone who watches me knows that. So the minute I saw this, I had to have it. And I framed it. It looks great. And basically, he was selling, I think, some of his own books, but I was more interested in the artwork. And if Retrobait had been with me, he would have loved the one that was sitting right next to the Predator, which was a Xenomorph. So, yeah, £3 for an A4 print. I think that's a pretty good deal, especially when it looks like that. So that will be going on my wall pride of place. Right, so next thing I wanted to mention was something called dot art, and I'm going to hold this up. Now, I didn't actually buy anything from these guys. I was very tempted to. They did some great work, as you can see here. The Boba Fett one there took my interest straight away. But I'd already spent quite a bit, and I was very conscious of the fact that the missus was with me. But this is their details here. So basically, Cara got into a conversation with him because I was a bit busy at first. I was over at something else, so I didn't hear the first initial conversation. And then I come over and looked over the artwork. But basically, what happened was he'd lost his ability to be able to draw. I think it was something to do with he didn't have the steady hand to do it anymore. And so he changed what he was doing to dot art. So each one of these images, I'll get that up again so you can have a look. Each one of these images on here is made up, and if you look there, you can probably see it. Lots of tiny little dots. And that's how he does his artwork now. But when you consider what he's coming out with through dot work, I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? So, yeah, I was very tempted. But like I said, I'd spent a lot of money already. So, didn't actually get anything. But maybe next time, because I will go to this again. I really enjoyed this. Hopefully, I can drag Martin and Chef along next time. But yes, there was another stall not so far away from them that did something with paper. And basically, they were creating images by layering white, grey and black paper. So the grey and the black would create the shadow, and then you got faces, and there was Indiana Jones, Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Ghostbusters characters. There was all sorts. Honestly, I was looking at them and I was amazed at how they'd done this. And again, was very tempted to buy one, but like I say, I'd already spent quite a bit. I didn't really want to spend any more. But very interesting, very artistic, great work, and also very... I mean, who thinks of these ideas? Where did these ideas come from? It's quite an interesting idea to think, do you know what, I'm going to do art by layering paper. That's interesting, right? So, yeah, you don't see that every day. So, yeah, and then we move on to what I picked up, because I've already told you about the people signing. I told you about the cosplayers that we met and that. So, right, first off, the first thing I grabbed, actually, I should show you this. This was the first thing I actually got, and you'll notice from the reflection, it's foil. It's an Empire Strikes Back foil. I got this given to me for free as I walked in, because we paid our admission, which I should add, was £7 each, which I think is perfectly reasonable. That's a very good price. And there was 3 of us, so £21 for us to get in. I got given that, and then we was in. All right, so first thing I picked up, been after it for ages, wasn't in the Protector, I've put it in one, was the Black Series Darth Revan. Now, if you know your Expanded Universe, you will know who this is. I have been after this figure for a long time and not been able to get it anywhere. And each time it comes out, you normally find the price rockets. And this guy was selling it for 30 quid. So, and I basically was going through his figures and I found that, and he went, oh, well done, you found the most expensive one. So, and as a result, because I got that, he then gave me this for free. So I got a Star Wars magnet. So, yeah, so that'll go on the fridge at some point. I am almost tempted, actually, to keep it still in its original packaging, because this isn't new. So, yeah, I might keep hold of it. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, so I got that for free. And, again, another lovely guy. There'll be a picture coming out in a minute of a guy next to him that was selling modified Nerf guns. And he had loads of, like, Warhammer-style guns and various other sci-fi franchises where he'd got Nerf guns and then he'd adapted them. I think maybe using 3D printing, painting, etc. I mean, I saw one which was purely 3D printed. It wasn't a Nerf gun, because the others basically will fire the Nerf darts, right? But this one was purely just 3D printed for decoration, and it was a bolt gun from Warhammer. Straight away, I messaged Martin. I was like, here, mate, you interested? Because I'll grab you this while I'm here if you want. And it was full size as well. Big old thing like this. You'll see it in the photos. So, yeah, I saw that, got onto Martin. He went, nah, you're all right. I could probably 3D print one myself. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, Martin likes the challenge, I think. So anyway, we moved on from that one. And then we walked round to the other side, right? And there was a stall there, and he was doing the Power of the Force figures. Now, I know that people aren't a big fan of Power of the Force figures, and to be fair, I'm normally not, because they've kind of over-musculated the figures and some of them look a bit silly. But I do like some of the Imperial Troopers, etc. And I'd been after this one, so I grabbed this one. And this one cost me £10, which I thought was a bargain. It's still carded. It's in great condition. I mean, there's not a mark on it, really. And so I grabbed that and I put that in a box protector when I got home. So there's that one. And this one's going to make Scott laugh, because I recently got this from him loose. It's because I wanted one for display as well. And that is the TIE Fighter pilot. And again, this was £10 as well. Unfortunately, this guy didn't have any cards or anything, so I can't tell you what his website is or whatever. But yeah, so that's the TIE Fighter pilot. That was £10 as well. Now, the thing is, my birthday was coming up, so Cara basically said, do you want these for your birthday? And I was like, yeah, okay then, if you don't mind. So all three of those I've just showed you I got for my birthday, so it didn't actually cost me anything. That kind of give me a little bit of money to play with, right? So as we walk round the next turn, there's a guy there selling G1 Transformers, and I've been collecting the Dinobots. Obviously, as you know, there's 5 of them. I have 2 of them at the moment. Well, now I've got 3. I couldn't leave this behind. I mean, I don't know if you can see that because of the glare. That was £35. It was a bargain. I had to buy it. And it's in great condition. I mean, the only thing that's really missing is the Autobot sticker. I think most of them are still there. And it hasn't got that thing, you know, where the black starts showing through the chrome. It's still chrome, like, so it's kept most of its colour, which they quite often don't do. So, yeah, lovely example of a Dinobot. So I now have 3 of them. However, he did have a Grimlock, and it was in much better shape than my one is. My one's a little bit loose. The tail comes apart. This was stiff as anything. And I was very tempted, but it was 85 quid. And the guy said to me, he goes, I'll do you a deal if you want that as well. And I was like, I can't get that as well. I was like, the missus would kill me. And he started laughing because she's standing right next to me. But yeah, they were in very good condition. I was very tempted. Much better condition than the one I've got. But I should tell you who these people are. So these people are Yeti Cave Toys. And there's their flyer. Don't know if you can see the website address on there. There's a website address somewhere. I'm sure there is. Either way, if you Google it, you'll find it. They do a lot of Transformers. They did have some vintage Star Wars, as you can see there. But I didn't buy any of that because the vintage Star Wars I'm collecting, I want them with the weapons. So, and none of them had their weapons, so I left them. But yeah, the guy did say to me, I've got more G1 underneath if you're interested. I went, no, mate, seriously, I'm going to have to walk away. Missus will kill me. As it was, he already had an Optimus Prime there, which I was very interested in because I want to complete one of them as well. So, yeah, I could have spent a lot of money there. And again, very nice people. So check out Yeti Cave. They do some great stuff. And they do a lot of these conventions too. So, and they're fairly local too. So, yeah. So, like I said, guys, I had a great time. We all did. Yeah, and it's funny because time went so fast. Didn't feel like we was there long. We was probably there for about 3 hours, maybe longer. But the thing was, it wasn't too packed like some places I've been. There wasn't loads of people screaming and loads of noise. There was nice gaps. You could move around freely, get a good look at things, have chats with people, just enjoy yourself. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it. So next time I go, I think I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to try and talk Chef and maybe Martin into coming, and maybe any of the rest of the lads if they're local to come along. So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and well worth a visit. Oh, now I'm going to jam this bit in because I'd recorded this before this happened. So I found out on my birthday that Connor had got me something I was looking at the convention, and it's one of the McDonald's Transformers. So he must have grabbed this because I said to Cara I would pick these up, but you know I've spent too much already. And I'm guessing when I walked away, Connor grabbed it for me for my birthday. So yeah, I've got a nice McDonald's Transformer. So yeah, so thanks to him for that. And I really enjoy this. This will be going up my shelf with some of my other collectibles. So yeah, very nice. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video because I've waffled on enough. And until next time, take care, stay safe. Nerdy Geezer out.